Ain't you sick of giving me your money?
Oh, it's... Oh. I know he didn't do it, baby.
Hold on a second. Whoa. Where you going?
No, I'm about to go make these drop offs.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Black Currency Podcast. I am Bradley D.L.O. Thomas, marketing professional by day, MC producer by night. I'll pass the mic.
Hey, this is Opal, Ellyse, a poet and MC by heart, and pay the bill with my 9 to 5, which I also love as a director of multicultural business strategy in the financial industry.
My name is Corey Whitmore. I'm owner and founder of Media 22. Also run Radio 22 and still doing the producing thing, man. I can't drop it.
You got all the jobs. You got all the jobs.
Do everything.
But yes, today we are in episode 4. These episodes are flying by. We are jumping into real estate now. We did some money management. We did some credit repair and some predatory lending. We did the introduction to stocks. That could have been 3 episodes. But now we are at real estate, which in different ways and shapes seems to be in a lot of different people's portfolios in some way or the other. Today we are joined by Ari Zafari. She is agent at First Weber Real Estate. I also happen to know that she is an incredible vocalist and singer. I had the pleasure of recording her back before I'm in my studio here. When I started my studio at my house. But it's incredible to one, be able to hear her sing, see her perform, and now see the amazing things that she is doing in real estate. So welcome to the Black Currency Podcast, Ari.
Thank you so much, Corey. That was a wonderful introduction.
We appreciate you joining us and kind of being a part of this. I know when we were putting this together, real estate, it was something that kept coming up as something that we wanted to talk about. I think something that all of us have heard a number of other people talk about as things that they've gotten involved in. We kind of want to, start where we always start, at the ground level, start with the basics for people that may not be as familiar with some of those things that happen and occur in real estate. But I think a great place to start is to have you tell us specifically what your job entails and what you do at First Weber.
Right. So I am a real estate salesperson is my title. I am a realtor over at First Weber on the West Side, Westtown office, and I work in residential real estate, representing buyers and sellers to take care of their property and accomplish their real estate dreams and goals.
Excellent. So actually, I've been talking enough. I'm going to see if I can have DLO come in and start with our first question, if he doesn't mind. And then, we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'll start on with the first question. Before I get started, I would suggest that everybody grab a notebook because I know that Ari's going to be dropping some jewels every time we have somebody come on the show. It's just a learning session, so grab your notebook. So the first question that we want to know is, what are some of the mistakes that first-time home buyers should avoid when trying to purchase a home or get real estate or get into this game of wealth?
Yeah. So when I read that question, a whole list of things kind of came to my mind, and then I wanted to spin it just because so many negative things were coming to mind. I wanted to spin it to how can we be good homeowners and good home buyers? And what I came up with was in watching, I'm obviously a fan of this podcast in general. I've been tuning into the episodes, and we watched the credit repair episode, and that is a huge thing. I think that a lot of home buyers don't realize that credit is a huge thing that you want to tackle before you're thinking about buying anything, because one, you're going to get better loan values. You're just going to get a better experience in general when you have good credit. And then secondly, just getting yourself ready to buy. You want to protect that credit, like I said, at all costs, but also just protecting your finances in general, making sure that you are budgeting correctly. You don't need to always have the nicest thing. And sometimes when you are living conservatively, it's going to pay off always in the end. So I think that that's what I would say first and foremost. Make sure that you are in the financial position to buy. And then secondly, just not getting pre-approved is a big mistake that I see a lot of buyers making in this market. You need to be pre-approved. It's just good to be pre-approved in general to see what you can actually afford. You don't want to go out looking for houses that you start to fall in love with and then realize, oh no, I can't afford it just yet. So get pre-approved and be looking at things that you can actually afford.
Love it. Love it. Such good advice. I shared on episode 2 that I'm still renting. So like when Bradley said, take notes, I got my pen, I got my paper here because I'm definitely taking notes. So when you talk about having the credit ready, I assume that's for, getting some type of lending. So can you talk about what stuff is available for first time lenders out there, or for first time home buyers as far as loans?
Absolutely. There are so many options here. When you are talking to a lender, I think that was my answer to that question. When I read that was really, you would be surprised how much the lenders around, especially here in Madison, and going to a credit union, go to your bank, go to your credit union, sitting down with those lenders, they are going to be able to just give you so many options that you didn't even know were available just from going on the website and reading. So my advice to that would be, go and sit down with an actual lender. I can sit here and list off, FHA and VA and all these other conventional loans where the 3% down. I can sit here and list those off, but really sitting down with your lender, they are going to just be able to give you so much more useful information, and then kind of get you set up and make you feel super comfortable in getting started on the home buying process.
Awesome.
Well, I'm glad we did the shows in the order that we did them.
Right.
And that you talked about money management and credit being so important and getting to this point. So, oh man, that's great to have someone confirm that was a great order. When you're talking about buying a home and even with buying a car, the question of money down always comes up. So could you explain kind of the effect of someone able to put maybe a $5,000 or $10,000 down versus coming to the table with no money down? What are the advantages and disadvantages, and how does that kind of affect the process?
Right. So, as most of us know, you are going to most likely qualify for a better interest rate if you are giving a larger down payment. So that's just kind of the biggest benefit that I would say. But there are so many other benefits along with that. Smaller loan balance. It kind of provides a cushion to preserve the equity in your home, even if the market declines. You kind of have that cushion to if you're wanting to sell, or if something happens, you just have that cushion built in. And then the more manageable monthly payments is a huge thing. Obviously, when you are becoming a home owner, there are costs in there such as repairs, or you might have something happen if your dishwasher goes out, whatever, that you're going to have to pay for. Having a manageable monthly payment is going to make your life much more easy. So that's a huge thing, and just saving up and getting that larger down payment. But from a realtor's perspective, I have seen it just be such a big fighter, I guess, in competition. We are in a seller's market, and we'll get to that right now. But when we are in this type of market, the difference between someone who has all of the same kind of features in their offer versus an offer and they just have a larger down payment, it tells the sellers that you are a reliable borrower and that likely to have that deal fall through. So it's been a huge thing that sellers are looking at along with their agents.
All right. DLO, you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I need to turn my mic on real quick. Trying to make sure no feedback is coming through. Everybody's talking. So yeah, you went into a seller's market, and I know there's a buyer's market too. So I'm gonna break down the difference between those two for some people who don't understand what that means.
Absolutely. So right now we're in a seller's market. It is softening, which is good. But basically the difference between a seller's and a buyer's market just comes down to supply and demand. Right now we have a low supply and a high demand. So there's a lot of buyers out there looking and not a whole lot of homes. So that's where the competition comes from. And the low interest rates also have fueled the home demand this year.
So, like, what determines when's the best time to sell a home? Like, if you have one and you're looking to either get, expand or even downsize a little bit, what determines the best time to sell?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the way that the market works here in Wisconsin and a lot of markets is it's a good time to sell in the spring and summer. I know that that's a common theme. Sell in the spring and summer, and if it's the winter and the fall and you sell, maybe see what you can do to wait it out. And that's not necessarily the case right now. I would say if you are ready to make a move, then it's a good time to sell, honestly. That's the way that I look at it. But there are so many more, as of right now, there are so many reasons to I think just everyone being in their houses. COVID was a huge thing that made people feel like, well, maybe I want a more open floor plan. Or actually I've seen it more the other way around, is we were looking at wanting so much more open space before COVID. And that was such a common theme and a common stylistic choice. And then we're kind of going back to wanting a little bit more of our cubbies and our private spaces in the home. So I'm not sure if that's answering the question as best as I can, but I would say whenever you're wanting to make a move or whenever you have that urge to sell, just do it.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Like as you say that makes like perfect sense, right? Like if you and your spouse both working from home, kids doing school, you definitely want like a wall between the kitchen and stuff. So very, very cool, interesting stuff. That's awesome.
So let's say we have somebody that's tuning in or watching that is saying, you know what, I do want more room, I do want more space. I think I do want to go ahead and start the process in selling. How do they or where do they go to try and figure out true worth kind of of their house in the market, in the market the way it is right now, especially you said with you have COVID going on and all these other things, and some people are hunkering down. How are they able to kind of figure out, I could probably sell this for X amount? How would they do that?
Right. Absolutely. I think the biggest thing is contacting a professional, for one, just because some of those websites like Zillow, Redfin, they just have such inaccurate prices. So it's really hard to get an accurate it's hard to get an accurate perception of the comparable properties in the area that your home is in. So it's a really beneficial to have someone who has access to the MLS, which would be a real estate salesperson, that can pull those for you. And you don't necessarily have to have a contract with them. Like, for example, I posted on my Facebook page all the time. Hey, if you want a CMA, which is comparable market analysis of your home, I would be happy to send it to you. I would be happy to come over and give you my opinion, and my team's opinion. I have a team of people who have 40 plus years of experience. So it's really important just to kind of get in front of a professional. Just like I said, with a lender, you want to get in front of a real estate professional so that they can provide accurate comps to you.
Thank you.
Cool. So what was the CMA called? It's called CMA. What did that stand for again?
I kind of always get a tongue twister in there, but comparable market analysis.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that was something that you could receive without saying that you're with a particular realtor or real estate group.
Yes, or a real estate review is, I guess, another one that a real estate agent can send you, and you can contact someone and ask for it. And a lot of us are. I'm always really happy, and if you have anyone, send them my way. I'm happy to provide those and get people kind of thinking about real estate.
That's good to know.
That's cool. So speaking on helping people out, have you ever been in a situation where you had to work with someone but they were unable to actually get the home? What kind of steps do you usually go through with them so that they can get in a position so they can start buying some real estate?
Right. I kind of missed the first part of your question. Can you say that again? I think there was some feedback on my end.
Okay, yeah. So I was talking about working with someone, let's say they want to buy some real estate, but they're just not in the position right now.
Right.
What kind of steps would you tell them to do in order so that you could help them get their first piece of real estate?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I work with a lot of people who have that interest. I think the biggest thing, again, is just going back to working with a lender. And a great way to go about that, I know a lot of people say it is a good idea to get in contact with your lender and then find a real estate agent. But if you have someone that you trust, or you see on a podcast like this, or you see around in the community, a real estate agent, in my opinion, is kind of the face of your team, of the investor, the title people, I think I said investor, I meant inspector, your lender. So sometimes it is nice to get in front of that real estate agent that you want to work with and that you like, and that's friendly and that's easy to talk to and doesn't make you feel like you're asking a stupid question, and get them to connect you with someone that they work with and that they trust. And that person will be able to sit down with you and walk you through everything. Maybe better than someone at your bank that you work with. The real estate agent might just have someone that's really good. So I always think that's a good idea. Just get in front of a lender. They'll be able to walk you through everything.
Cool.
I love how you kind of describe that as like the real estate agent, like being the face of this team. So there's this whole team, like that makes me, like I said, I am looking to buy in the near future. And so like that makes me feel more like secure and everything. So I love that. I want to go back a little bit. So when you talked about like Zillow and having inaccurate information, because I've definitely heard that from other folks in real estate too. Like you think something there and they're like, yeah, no, that is not available at all. So can you talk about some of those other terms like that? Like what's the difference between like your home's like assessed value versus market value, and how are those things determined?
That's a great question. So we have a few of those terms that are kind of thrown around in the real estate world, like the assessed value, the appraised value versus the fair market value. So the I guess I'm trying to figure out, should I go backwards? I guess I'll go backwards. So the appraised value is hired. It's a third party hired after a buyer is already under contract to buy a house, and that's kind of the final price. The appraiser is going to be able to come up with the final price, and that's the third round of negotiations to make sure that, one, the lenders aren't over lending and giving out too much money, and also to make sure that the buyers aren't overpaying. So that's what the appraisal is. And then the assessed value is actually the market value of a property. The assessed value is from the municipality based off of the calculations from the tax numbers. So it's multiplied by the local tax rate to determine what your yearly taxes will be. So it doesn't really have a lot of the time, it doesn't have a ton to do with the fair market value and what you're actually going to pay for that house. And then the market value of the property is going to be what buyers are willing to pay for that property and what they think the property should be listed for, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. So like you said, like it's a seller's market and there's a lot of competition. Do you see like a big variance between that just because there's so much competition that those kind of numbers can be different?
Yes, I do. I think right now the assessed value and the fair market value really can't even be compared. It depends on, like I said, you kind of have to go to it depends on where you are here in the state. You'd have to go to your tax records and see what your assessed value is, and then, like I said, go to a real estate agent and see what fair market value is for a similar home of yours in the area, or a similar home of what you may be looking for, and they'll be able to give you an accurate kind of ratio there.
Nice.
Well, I'm gonna go into I think I need to name this segment like something like the street said, or I heard, because every time in this podcast I always have to bring up, well, I heard, or I was told that. So I want you to I guess to say yes, this is true, or not true, and kind of give an explanation around it, if that makes sense. So my pops would always try to make sure the lawn and the upkeep and all these other things are real good, when we got a house and things of that sort. But if somebody else's lawn, they had things sitting out or something in the front lawn or something like that or whatever, and it's like, oh man, they driving the home prices of homes down. So could you give clarity to I guess what can influence that home values, whether it's what a yard looks like or what's in the yard, whether it's schools, whether it's location? What are those factors that are all influencing what you can possibly sell your house for?
That's a really good question. I think that can be true in some that definitely can be true in some cases. I don't know. I wouldn't be able to give a number right now of how much that would affect the home prices if just one home is kind of a little bit off. And you can, I know there's some people who are in neighborhoods where it's just a community, and if one person's kind of slacking, the neighbors will go and fix them up just for that very reason, to just create coherency throughout the neighborhood.
Wow.
But I think there are a lot of things that can affect the prices of a home going down. Like, for example, if you are in a home that wasn't, and pardon me if I'm not saying this the most the clearest way that I can, but like, for example, if you're in a flood zone, and you weren't aware that you were in a flood zone, and then they put that status on you, that's one thing that can make the price of a home go down. Or something like a city dump, stuff like that. That's gonna make that might make the price of your home go down. So just thinking of things like that.
Can I throw out two examples? And maybe these are personal examples. Being close to an airport, is that a negative influence on reselling of a home? Proximity to an airport.
I'm not quite sure. I again, it's dependent. Like, if you don't get much noise in the home, there are some homes that I've been in and they're right next to a busy street and you don't hear anything.
Mm.
And then there's other homes that you can hear everything. So I think it's, again, just dependent, but noise is definitely a thing. It's definitely a thing that's considered. And I've seen, you know, houses that have been sitting on the market for a little bit, and I'm like, well, this is such a beautiful house. Why has it been sitting in the market? And you have to think about some of those things. What is it near? What's the noise like? What's the crime like? What are some of those factors like? And that's again can go into the price of a home, which is why I can't necessarily give like a list to sale price ratio, because there's so many factors that go into these things.
Flight path of Mitchell Airport wasn't good.
So I'm sure there's a lot of people out listening right now that would like to do what you do. And I'm kind of interested in what kind of education you need. What's the process like to start doing what you do?
Right. So that's a great question for one. And so subtle plug is First Weber was a huge help in getting me my licensing. And I was connected with a lady who helped me just get through everything. And I think that that's the best way, because if you do get connected with a brokerage, you don't necessarily have to sign on with that brokerage, but they can sometimes help you with some of those, some of that payment and some of those fees that come along with becoming a real estate agent. So, and if anyone is watching this and is interested in getting into real estate, reach out to me. I absolutely love to talk to new agents and talk to people who are interested in it, just because I'm so passionate about it. I would love to talk to you. So feel free to reach out to me, and I can help you get figured out on whether you want to take the on-demand courses or something in person. I'm not sure if that's offered right now because of COVID, but there's a lot of options here, and feel free to reach out to me.
Cool, perfect.
Awesome. I got another one of those, like Corey's, like ear to the street, rumor mill type question I always want to know. So if it's like totally out of scope and you're like, yeah, that doesn't even exist, I got a different one. But what about like homeowners associations and stuff? Because I've heard like these rumors that like you can only paint your house these 3 colors. Your door can't even be a different color. Like, I think, you know, I had these dreams of when I own a home, I can do whatever I want. I can color it. I can knock down things. I can do stuff. So can you talk a little bit about some of those restrictions that might come and like how they come? And then will you know that like ahead of time before buying?
Right. Yes. So that's a great question. I kind of came into real estate with the same understanding. My parents are homeowners, but first generation. No, that's not true. Well, kind of a little bit, but so we didn't necessarily have this knowledge about the homeowners associations and things like mailboxes having to be the same color, and so that was a shock to me as well. But if you were working with a good real estate agent, they're going to be able to provide all of the associated documents for your home. Not every home here in Madison or and the outskirts is going to be like that. If you are super passionate about painting your house pink, you can definitely have a realtor that's going to work with you to figure out where can I move to have that option. But a lot of homeowners associations do have rules like that. Like, for example, in where my parents live, they have to have all of their mailboxes the same color, and they do have to have their homes painted in neutral color out of a list of certain shades. So it's very common.
Awesome. Thank you.
Speaking about you know, realty and your involvement in realty and thinking about this process, I feel like we're part of what this podcast does is kind of tries to demystify certain processes. You know, we went into, you know, credit repair and all the things that, you know, have to do with that, and things you should look at and things you shouldn't look at, and getting into stocks. We kind of did the same thing. Like, you know, how do you get involved? What are the ways to do it? And now we're at real estate, and trying to figure out that process. But I'm curious about, I think in a process like this, especially purchasing your home, there's, there's like a personal investment, because this is a place that you're looking to try and live in, and that's very important to people. And I think that, that relationship, if I can call it a relationship, between, the person looking to purchase a home and the realtor is important. I put that out to say that, I believe that there's not that many people of color that are realtors. So that process sometimes may be sometimes good and sometimes bad. The question I want to ask you is, how, I guess, is there a program that is out to recruit more people of color to get into real estate?
Yes, great question. I am actually an awardee of one of those programs, which is the WRA has a Partnership for Success program, which is aimed at helping some of these communities, such as Black and Brown communities, get into the career of real estate. As a lot of us know, starting with real estate, it isn't like a 9-to-5 steady paycheck. It's strictly commission. So it's an investment. It's a huge investment into your career, and it can be really hard for some of us coming from these places where not everyone just has parents or grandparents or family members who can fund some of these dreams or less common career choices. So this program through the WRA is I'm super passionate about, and I'm now an interviewer of candidates coming in who are super passionate about the career of real estate, and the boundary is money. So we do have some of those programs.
Okay, excellent.
Very cool. Are there any other programs, I guess in the local area that you want to share with the people that you kind of work with, or about, that you think would be beneficial?
Absolutely. I wanted to come on here and give a shout out to Sarah Alvarado, who is she's started this Own It group. And I've kind of communicated I am involved in them, and I don't know everything. So she would be a great person to talk to. But the goal there is to partner up. Well, I guess it's us. I would be considered an ambassador for it. And we're slowly but surely getting to the point of being out in the community. And Own It is basically a program that is partnering up with One City Schools here in Madison to provide families of One City Schools down payment assistance, whether that's 10% to 20%. That's something that you'd have to figure out with the Own It team, but there are a lot of there's just a lot of community programs and community efforts here in Madison to get the Black community into homes and getting to build our generational wealth, as we haven't always had that opportunity in the past. So I'm really just proud of everyone here in Madison and in my community. I never realized how many people were passionate like me about some of these things, like education, on just building wealth and kind of getting out of this rat race. A lot of people are really passionate about helping Black and Brown people get into those positions. So I'm excited to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's like real impact. Like, we all want to do great at our jobs, hopefully, make some money and difference for our personal family, but when you're involved with programs like that, like you're really making a difference for the entire community. So I applaud you and Sarah and everybody else who is doing that. Like with that, like I said, I work with race and ethnicity all the time in the financial service area. So really looking at like the differences and the disparities that there are, and like a huge wealth gap, right, between Black and brown folks and white folks when it comes to having wealth. And so one of those biggest indicators we see is a difference in home ownerships, right, especially for Black folks. Can you talk about like, what is that difference? If you're paying rent, what's the advantage of paying a mortgage and how that really like impacts like your wealth? Can you break that down for the folks tuning in and for me too?
Yes, absolutely. So I actually did a video on this and you can check it out on my page. But the biggest thing right now that I was shocked by myself in learning about real estate here in Madison is that a lot of the time a rent payment is actually more expensive than a mortgage payment, and actually most of the time. And you would be so shocked. Rent prices are just skyrocketing right now, and a lot of people look at the prices of homes and they say, oh, homes are getting to be unaffordable. But really, if you look at just historically what the interest rates are and everything like that, we are in a great spot to start to look to buy. Like I said, rent prices are just going to be going up, and the mortgage prices, the monthly payments, especially like you said, working on that credit, you can even have it lower than what you would think. So that's the first point I wanted to make. And then building equity in your home. You can there's just so many. There's so many reasons that it's kind of hard for me to list everything right now. There's so many reasons why you would want to own your own stuff. Building equity in a home can just take you off to so many more avenues into if you want to invest in real estate. Using the equity that comes out of one home to purchase another home is a great way to build generational wealth. And some of the things that we, as Black people, we haven't always had the chance to sit down with our grandparents or our parents and really learn about some of these things. So it's really important for us to educate ourselves on why it's so important to make smart financial decisions and not necessarily going out and buying the most shiny car, the nicest clothes right away, and putting yourself in a position for the future so that you can do some of those things for your kids and your kids' kids. And so I will there's a video I did on my page as well. You can check it out, and I go a little bit more in depth to some of these things. So I'm making sure that I don't forget anything. So you can feel free to check that out on my page as well.
Awesome.
I'm going to go back to something that I've heard, which may personally apply, but we won't put all that out there. If someone is looking to purchase, looking to buy a home, how important are two aspects? One, length of employment, and two, income to debt ratio. How can that work for you, work against you, I guess, in purchasing a new home?
Right. That's a good question. And that may not be one that I can answer for you in the most knowledgeable way that I would want everyone to get into their heads. But I know that it does have it is important to have some sort of history. I guess if length of employment and in the other one, I'm sorry.
Debt to income ratio.
Debt to income ratio, right. Debt to income ratio is a big one, I know. Length of employment, there are other factors that if you're good in, if you're kind of desirable to lenders, and that's not as important, I know. And it just kind of goes back to why you want to get in front of a lender. I'm not quite able to answer that. But get in front of a lender and they are going to be able to guide you on that. And even if you aren't in the place to buy right now,
Right.
there are so many things that you can do to get yourself in a position to buy, whether it's in the next 6 months to a year. And I've had clients who really didn't think that they would be in a position to buy in the next 3 years, in the next 4 years, 5 years. And they are now coming around the corner and saying, I think I'll be ready to buy next spring. And so I already have actually a few set up on searches. So you'll be surprised. Just get in front of your lender and get in front of if you don't have one that you're comfortable working with, reach out to a real estate agent. They can get you in contact with someone, and then you can have just kind of a partner to hold your hand through the process and encourage you as well. So super important, get in front of a lender.
Perfect. I know you may have to leave, DLO. Do you have last questions or anything?
Before, I guess the only thing I'm kind of thinking about now is redlining. Is that redlining, gentrification? Are we still kind of seeing some of that? Are you still seeing that, I guess, in this market right now? And the second question was, are there any books that kind of can give people a history about what's going on?
Yeah, that is a great question. I know I've said that so many times, but really, it's a great question. I think one, yes, you would be really, really surprised that some of the old rules in the rules and regulations, and I send these like I said, the associated documents to clients, and if you really go through those bylaws and some things, there are things that you can notice, like that doesn't look right, and and they're racist. And here in Wisconsin, we have different things. Like I was actually in a group earlier this week that was really educating me. It's called, the group was Idea Movers through First Weber, and we were going over, like in California, there are some racist rules against Asian people, and here in Wisconsin, there's rules against any people of color, and obviously they aren't now put into they're not actively being practiced, but there are groups put into place to kind of work through some of those things and read through and work on just getting the language out of there, because we don't even want to be associated with anything like that. And my book recommendation would be The Color of Law. I am reading it myself. I think it's important to any real estate agent, any person who wants to get into real estate, to really understand the implications of racism historically, just how it's affected really just everything. And that's what the book comes down to, is that racism and these things just really affect everything in life, not just real estate.
Opal, did you have one more question?
Yeah, I have one more if I can sneak it in. So you were talking about lenders being a crucial step and key component to this. Do you have any recommendations on, is there an advantage to that being like a local person like me walking into my bank or credit union, or calling Rocket Mortgage or going online with something like that? Is there an advantage to either one of those?
Yes. Yes. That's a good question. So I say that there is a huge benefit of getting into contact with someone local. Nice. Some of those outside lenders who aren't even, they don't reside here in Madison, and they're out of state, they aren't going to be able to provide you the best service that you are going to want. And that's just what it comes down to. That's my belief. But if you have been through that process yourself, you will see that as well. You want to be able to get into contact with your lender first and foremost, and even have the opportunity to be able to drive to your lender and meet them face to face if need be. So I would say yes, try and find someone local. And again, if you have a real estate agent that you trust, they are going to be able to hook you up with someone who is going to be attentive. And we as realtors, we work really closely with lenders, and I only send my clients to lenders that I trust and that I know that I can call and say, hey, you better get on top, you better get on the ball with this, because we're not gonna if I want to get paid, you want to get paid.
Right.
And not even just about getting paid, just getting our clients into the best position that they can be in. And so it's really important just to have that team be local, in my opinion.
That's so good. Awesome advice.
Perfect. All right. Well, I want to thank you for joining us, enlightening us. I think we all have some notes, and some of us may have put in some of our personal situations into some of the questions, but we won't say who that is. But you did recommend a great book for us. It's called The Color of Law, correct?
Yes.
By chance, do you know who the author of that book is?
I do, and I was just actually thinking of the author name, and it slips my mind right now.
Okay.
I do know it though. That's what makes me mad.
Don't worry about it, but I know that we can look it up and people can Google that. So I definitely want to make sure that people go and check that out. I hope it's on. Man, I may have to pick that up on Audible. I hope it's on Audible. I may pick that up. So I'm always in the car trying to listen to stuff. So so yes, thank you. I do want to put up. Please get in contact with Ari, as she said. If anyone has any questions or things of that sort, she can be an incredible resource for you, for people that are interested in buying and selling homes. So make sure to get in touch with her. Also, for those people that are watching or listening, make sure to subscribe. We're moving. We're now in our fourth podcast, so you can always check out our webpage at myradio22.com/Black Currency Podcast. You can see the visual up on YouTube, youtube.com/radio22. We are on IG and Facebook at Black Currency Podcast. Anything you want to leave us with Ari before we close things out? And any last plugs or shout outs?
I don't think so. Just if anyone out there is looking to buy or sell, or just interested in getting into real estate, reach out to me. I'd love to connect.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for being a part of this. Thank you to all of our listeners and people that may be watching. And this is the Black Currency Podcast. We'll see y'all next week. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ari.
Ain't you sick of giving me your money?
I know he didn't do it, baby.
Whoa, where you going?
No, I'm about to go make these drop balls.